There's a strange, quiet moment almost everyone has had. Late at night or in the middle of an ordinary day, a memory surfaces of someone who hurt you. And instead of anger, what shows up first is longing. Not longing for the pain, longing for them, their voice, their laugh, the version of them that existed before things went wrong. And then comes the confusion. If they hurt me, why does some part of me still want them back? This isn't weakness. It isn't poor judgment. It isn't proof that you secretly enjoy being hurt. It's something your brain does automatically, whether you ask it to or not. Nobody tells you that missing someone and being harmed by them can live in the same chest at the same time without canceling each other out. This is why we miss people who hurt us. And once you understand what's actually happening underneath that longing, it stops feeling like betrayal of yourself and starts feeling like something you can work with. Stay with me, because this isn't only about romantic breakups. This is for students missing a friend who turned cruel, young adults untangling a toxic first relationship, and adults still thinking about a parent, an ex, or a friendship that left marks. There's a real psychological reason you can miss someone who treated you badly, and it has almost nothing to do with logic or self-worth. Attachment doesn't form based on how well someone treated you. It forms based on how much emotional significance they carried, how often you were near them, and how deeply your nervous system learned to expect them. When a relationship involves both comfort and hurt, your brain doesn't file those as separate people. It files them as one bond, layered with contradiction. The good moments don't get erased by the bad ones. They sit right next to each other in memory. This is why a single kind memory can outweigh months of harm in the moment you're missing someone. Your brain isn't lying to you. It's just retrieving whichever memory is loudest, not necessarily the one that matters most. This isn't a personal failure or a sign you're choosing badly. It's a basic feature of attachment. But it does mean the ache of missing someone isn't proof they were good for you. It's proof the bond was real. Psychologists studying attachment have found something counterintuitive, sometimes described through the idea of intermittent reinforcement. When affection and hurt arrive unpredictably from the same person, warmth one day, coldness or cruelty the next, the brain doesn't grow numb to that person. It grows more fixated on them. Reward that comes consistently is easy for the brain to stop craving once it ends. Reward that comes unpredictably, mixed with uncertainty, becomes harder to let go of. The brain keeps reaching for the pattern, hoping to predict when the good version will return. The researchers studying this effect have found that unpredictable relationships often create stronger, longer-lasting attachment than stable, consistently kind ones. Not because the unpredictable relationship was better, because uncertainty itself keeps the brain engaged, searching and hoping. This is why some people find it harder to stop thinking about someone inconsistent than someone who was reliably kind but ultimately wrong for them. The ache isn't about who was better. It's about whose behavior your brain never fully finished predicting. Missing someone who hurt you rarely shows up alone. There are a handful of things that quietly get tangled up in it, things almost nobody prepares you for. Identity gets tangled first. When someone was present during a big stretch of your life, missing them can feel like missing a version of yourself that existed alongside them, even if that version wasn't always treated well. Hope gets tangled next. Part of what's missed isn't the person as they actually were, but the person they seemed capable of becoming. The potential you saw in the good moments, the future you built in your head before it stopped being realistic. And routine gets tangled the most. If someone occupied a daily place in your life, a good morning text, a shared meal, a familiar voice, your nervous system misses the rhythm itself, independent of whether that rhythm was healthy. For a student, this often shows up as missing a friend group or a first relationship that turned unkind, while still remembering the inside jokes. For a young adult, it can mean missing a partner from an early relationship that taught them what they don't want, long before they understood why it hurt. For an adult, it can mean still thinking of a parent, an ex-spouse, or a long friendship, even years after distance or estrangement, because decades of shared history don't dissolve just because the relationship did. None of this means the hurt wasn't real. It means grief, nostalgia, and harm can share the same space in a person's chest without one disproving the other. It's worth understanding why this feeling is so common, instead of assuming something is uniquely wrong with you for feeling it. Human beings are wired to bond for survival, not for fairness. For most of human history, breaking a bond with someone you depended on, even an unsafe one, carried real risk. So the brain evolved to resist letting go quickly, even from people who caused harm. In other words, the same wiring that helps you form deep, loyal, lasting bonds with people who are good for you is the exact wiring that can keep you attached to people who weren't. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's the cost of having a brain built for connection rather than one built for perfect judgment. The ache is real, but so is your ability to eventually loosen its grip. Picture two people, each missing someone who hurt them, roughly the same amount of time after it ended. The first spends most nights replaying the good memories on a loop. The early days, the version of the person before things turned. Every text left unread, every silence gets filled in with hope that things could return to how they started. The second also misses that person and doesn't pretend otherwise. But alongside the good memories, they let themselves remember the full picture, the moments of harm, the pattern, not just the highlight reel. They let the missing exist without letting it rewrite the truth of what happened. Both are grieving something real, but only the second person's grief has room to move forward, because it isn't asking the past to be smaller or kinder than it actually was. The first step, accept that missing someone and knowing they hurt you can both be true at once. One doesn't cancel the other. Write down the full picture, not just the good memories. When the ache arrives, it often brings only the highlight reel. Keeping an honest record, even a short one, helps your memory stay balanced instead of selectively kind. Give the feeling a time limit instead of fighting it outright. Let yourself miss them for a few minutes, fully, without judgment. Then gently redirect your attention. Suppressing the feeling entirely often makes it louder. Notice what you're actually missing. Sometimes it's the person. Sometimes it's routine, familiarity, or a version of yourself that existed back then. Naming it specifically makes the ache easier to sit with. Rebuild small pieces of what the routine gave you on your own terms. If mornings feel emptier, create a new morning ritual. If evenings feel quiet, fill them with something steady and yours. You're not replacing the person. You're reclaiming the shape they used to fill. give it time without treating time pressure as failure. Attachment doesn't dissolve on a schedule. Still thinking of someone 6 months or 6 years later doesn't mean you haven't healed. It means the bond was significant, not that you're stuck. Missing someone who hurt you doesn't mean you want to go back. It doesn't mean the harm wasn't real, and it doesn't mean you're broken for feeling it. The ache is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do, holding on to bonds, even the complicated ones, because that's what bonds are designed to resist letting go of. You don't have to earn the right to miss someone by proving they deserved it. And you don't have to let the missing convince you to return to something that hurt you. You can miss someone and still choose not to go back. And the moment you stop treating that contradiction as a problem to solve, something shifts. The ache stays honest instead of turning into pressure, and the memory of them settles into something you carry rather than something that pulls you backward. That's when missing someone finally starts to feel like part of your story instead of an open door back into theirs.